Hello once again, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So in this video today, I'm going to be teaching you the world's simplest stock picking strategy. So most people out there follow a very complicated strategy when it comes to investing, or maybe they don't follow any strategy at all. There are countless research apps out there, websites, and resources for a never-ending supply of ideas and different things to pile on to your existing investing strategy. And honestly, this can really result in something called analysis paralysis, which is where you just have so much information in front of you, you don't know what to do, so oftentimes you just do nothing. What I'm going to be showing you today is a much simpler approach to a stock picking strategy. This simple 5-step strategy is something that anybody can follow, and it actually gives you an advantage over the big Wall Street investors. You see, as a retail investor yourself, you have a distinct advantage as long as you're not one of those Wall Street investors living in a glass tower in New York City. But the fact that you're watching this video tells me that most likely you are an everyday average retail investor like myself. Now, the advantage of being a regular person is that you live a regular life and you can see what is going on around you. So this gives you an advantage here because you are most likely able to catch on to different trends before Wall Street investors do. You see, many of these rich investors living in the city, they're not living a normal life. They're living in a glass tower and they're hanging out with other Wall Street people. So they're just not getting an accurate idea of what's going on in the real world. They're often trading based off of news or data, whereas you could invest based on trends happening in your real life. So this strategy here is all about supporting the companies that you already support yourself. And the idea behind this is that if you like this particular company or thing, well, probably a lot of other people do as well. And it could even be a new emerging trend that the Wall Street investors themselves haven't caught on to yet. Now, this strategy I'm going to teach you in this video today is based on this book right here, The World's Simplest Stock Picking Strategy by Edward Ryan, now available on Amazon. This book is all about learning how to make money by investing in the companies already in your life. So he created this investment strategy himself after he was tired of missing out on major moves in the market. The whole point here is that in hindsight, many of these picks would have been obvious to most ordinary people. Examples like Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Costco, Home Depot. But what he was finding is that because he was focused more on the data side of things and reading information and reports, he was missing out on some of these major easy picks that would have been multi-bagger positions. So like many of us, he was too focused on trying to make smart stock picks based on reports and information from Wall Street rather than just using common sense and looking around and seeing what's going on in the real world. So the core strategy itself follows 5 simple steps, and I'm going to teach you those very shortly. After that, the book goes on to provide 3 additional recommendations or add-ons on top of that to build upon this very simple, or the world's simplest, stock picking strategy. Also, guys, stick around to the end of the video to learn about how you yourself could win a copy of this book for free. Now, let's get into the strategy, starting off with step number 1. So the first step to the world's simplest stock picking strategy is simple enough, and that is to list your life activities. So what you're going to do here is make a list of all of the products and services that you use in your life. In the book, Edward calls this the life list, and this is basically the foundation of this entire strategy. You're essentially going to take inventory and become aware of the companies that you're using. Now, when I sat down and did this myself, guys, I'm going to be honest, I realized I'm leading a pretty boring life lately where I basically hang out at home, work on my different businesses, and once in a while go out and grab some food. But I did add a couple of companies to my individual life list. For me personally, this includes companies like Alltown Fresh, which is one of my favorite companies that I support pretty much on a almost daily basis. It's a really cool convenience store, more like a convenience store, grocery store hybrid in my area. So I shop there all the time and became a shareholder a couple of months ago in this company called GLP or Global Partners. Another example would be Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, just to show you guys examples of stocks in my life, because I recently purchased a new Jeep, and I know a lot of people have made vehicle purchases in the last couple of months. The last example of another one of my life stocks would be Lowe's. So I've been working a ton on my property down in Florida, just getting everything set up down there. So I have spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars at Lowe's. And so that's another stock in my life that I would add to this life list. Now, after you have this life list prepared, step number 2 is going to be to qualify your life activities. This is where you're going to ask yourself a few questions about the products and services that you use to determine which are the most special and irreplaceable. The idea here is that the companies that have the most special products and services are the companies that will most likely have pricing power, which means they can maintain profits over extended periods of time, even in the face of direct competition. So right off the bat here, guys, I'm going to take Lowe's off of my list because I don't really have much of any loyalty, and I don't find that to be a very special experience. I shop at both Home Depot and Lowe's depending on what I need. Alltown Fresh would be much more special to me, and I find that it is a pretty special experience because it's basically like going into a convenience store from the future where you have all kinds of awesome food and drink selections. And I'm also a vegetarian myself. I have been since about somewhere in July. So finding decent food options that are vegetarian can be quite challenging, but I'm always able to find an awesome selection over at Alltown Fresh. On the Jeep side of things, perhaps that might be a trend, but Jeep is only one small component of the overall Fiat Chrysler brand, so I don't really think that would be an investment I would consider at this point in time. So after you qualify your life activities and get an idea of which of these companies are the most special to you in your life, step number 3 is going to be to rank your life stocks. So basically, once you've identified this list of companies and then qualified them, you're going to then put them in order as far as the ones that you like the most to the ones that you like not as much. And obviously, you're going to like them all to some degree. But let's say, for example, you wanted to rank 5 of these stocks, 1 through 5, in terms of your favorites. This is going to help you later on with determining your allocation into these individual stocks. So I put some more thought into this, guys, and I ended up coming up with a list of 5 names of companies that I'm using on a pretty regular basis in my life that are very special to me. So number 1 on my list here is a stock I already own a ton of. That's Alltown Fresh, trading under GLP for Global Partners. Number 2 on that list for me would be Starbucks. I'm pretty much going there usually 3 or 4 days a week to pick something up. Again, they have pretty awesome vegetarian options. I'm a big fan of their chickpea box. So that for me is another one of my life stocks and a pretty awesome company that's somewhat of a special experience for me. Obviously, it's not the craziest thing in the world, but I do view it as a step up from, your average fast food restaurant. Number 3 on that list for me would be JetBlue Airlines. So as I mentioned earlier, I do have my, primary residence in Miami, and JetBlue is pretty much the only airline that has frequent flights from Miami to Albany. So I am spending a ton of money with JetBlue. Now, is this really a special experience? I wouldn't say so much, but I do find it to be a quality airline. So I did add them to this list as well. But at this point in time, I don't have any investment in them, and I'm also not invested in Starbucks. Number 4 on my list here would be Google, and that's a pretty obvious one here, guys. My entire business revolves around either YouTube or a blog, and all of the blogging that I do relies on Google search traffic. So you could pretty much say my entire business revolves around Google. And then on the other side, in terms of my entertainment, I personally prefer to watch YouTube videos over movies or streaming. So I do a ton of YouTube binging, when I can't sleep or something like that. So they're going to be number 4 on my list. And I've owned Google many times on and off over the last couple of years, but at this point in time, I don't actually have a position with them. And then number 5, last on my list, is another company I really like, and that is Dave & Buster's. They trade under the symbol PLAY, and I do own some shares of this company. I really like arcades, and I mean, maybe it is kind of lame, but I really like going to Dave & Buster's, and I've actually gotten really good at a couple of those games there where I can pretty consistently win a ton of tickets. So I just really enjoy going there, and it's kind of a nice like staycation type thing. So that's another company on my list that has a somewhat special experience to me. So after that, guys, once you rank your life stocks, step number 4 in this strategy is going to be to then invest in your life stocks. Now, obviously, guys, you should always do more research above and beyond just picking a stock in your life and then investing. But basically what this does here is it narrows down from a much wider array of stocks that you could invest in to a smaller group that you're using already, that you're already familiar with. And this is just going to help you a ton in terms of just narrowing down the number of possibilities out there. But the author does have a few recommendations for this in terms of how to basically invest in these stocks with some level of precaution. So recommendation number 1 is fairly simple, and that is to buy on market pullbacks. So buying stocks on major market pullbacks is something that every investor wants to do, but rarely do we accomplish this. More often than not, it looks like us usually just randomly dumping a bunch of money into a stock, especially if there's any element of FOMO or the fear of missing out. It certainly takes a lot more discipline to only buy on market pullbacks, but it could give you a clear advantage in terms of getting shares at a discount. What I really liked about the book in this section is it really breaks down the psychology as to why it's so difficult for many of us investors to follow that recommendation, which is buying stocks on a pullback. Recommendation number 2 is to hedge with ETFs. So the author recommends investing $1 into a market tracking ETF for every $1 that you invest in individual stocks. And honestly, I think that's very solid advice. This basically serves as a hedge against your individual stock picking ability. So if you end up being a fantastic stock picker, that's great, and maybe your stock picks do really well. But if you end up being not so great, or maybe you get caught in a market downturn, having half of your money in diversified ETFs is going to help you with avoiding having all of that downside. Other than that, the idea here is to pretty much invest in your life stocks over time, and I'm a big fan of the strategy of dollar cost averaging, which is where instead of dumping all of your money in at once, you buy some shares on a recurring basis. And you could tie in that, recommendation if you wanted, and make sure that, let's say you're looking to buy, these stocks on a monthly basis, you could aim to purchase them on a day when the market is pulling back or correcting. So the final step here, guys, is number 5, which is to manage your life stocks portfolio. So as life goes on, things tend to change, and the life stocks that you have now may not be the same ones that you have in 2 years. Maybe you have a kid and you're buying a bunch of diapers, or maybe you're just in a totally different place in life and you're no longer really actively using or supporting the same companies as you were before. So the final step to this strategy here is essentially assessing your life list and looking at the companies that you yourself are using and how this changes over time. Now, I'm not saying that you should, change your list every 3 months, and the author is not saying that either. Obviously, guys, stocks are a longer term investment, and you should expect to be holding on to your stocks for at least a year. That way you're paying long-term capital gains instead of short-term, but you might find that you're changing your life list every couple of years, and your portfolio may change as a result as well. This strategy basically encourages people to hold on to stocks for the long term, for at least as long as that company is special to them. If at some point the company is no longer special to you, and maybe you have some profits and you want to take some profits and put them into another company, you would obviously want to consider your taxes at that point in time, but it might be a wise decision to pivot into something else. Now, there's a number of advantages to following a very simple stock picking strategy like this. Number one, investing in what you know is a key strategy of Warren Buffett. So you're basically deploying one of Warren Buffett's investment strategies built right in, which is investing in hopefully simple businesses that you yourself fully understand. This can help you stay the course if the investment goes down while you're holding onto it, because if you know what you're invested in, you're going to be far more confident than you would be if you had no clue what you're investing in. The second advantage to this strategy is that because you're using data from your own real life, you have the potential to get in or get ahead of a trend before the big Wall Street investors find out about it. Lastly, the strategy doesn't involve any complicated research, and literally anybody out there could do this with a simple sheet of paper. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, I know you're going to also enjoy the entire book here, The World's Simplest Stock Picking Strategy by Edward Ryan, available over on Amazon. I'm going to include a link down in the description below if you want to check out the full book yourself. This is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what this book has to offer, but I'm really glad that Edward was down for me sharing this lesson from the book today. The author, Edward Ryan, is also going to be giving away 10 free copies of this book to viewers of this video. All you're going to have to do is sign up for his completely free email list, which is the top link down in the description below, and he plans on sending out occasional market analysis, maybe once or twice a month, nothing too crazy. So basically, he's going to pick 10 random people who sign up for his free newsletter, and they're going to win a completely free copy of The World's Simplest Stock Picking Strategy. Thanks so much for tuning into the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the very end, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to be notified of any future uploads. And as always, I hope to see you in the next video.